Bigger Catfish Poachers bust. And this, amazingly, was in Kentucky. Now, let me show you guys the article right here. This was once again on Facebook, and it was the Kentucky Fish and Wildlife Law Enforcement. I'm not going to read the whole thing. However, this is huge. This is really, really big. There were 11 individuals busted with blue catfish longer than 25 inches. Now you have to put the dots together. This was an organized group of individuals. 11 individuals keeping trophy sized catfish. Why would they be doing this? Well, if you connect the dots, there's only one reason. And I'm amazed that this happened in Kentucky because Kentucky is one of the states where these trophy catfish pay lakes exist. And my cat, once again, is trying to join my video podcast. Now, let me talk about the problem. And I did this on my last video. I'm doing it again on this video because every time I do a video, there's always new people. And some of you are probably asking, what in the world is a trophy catfish pay lake? We have to rewind the clock back like 40 years ago where you had just pay lakes. And this is a place you would go. You would catch trout. The local one that I went to had catfish as well. Most of the time, we were unable to catch catfish because the catfish had parasites. These are family friendly places. It was fun to go there. There was always families around the trout pond trying to catch trout off of like corn. And you paid for the fish you caught. You either took it home to eat. Some of these pay lakes were cooking it for you and letting you eat it there too. It just depends on, the old school pay lakes. Now you fast forward to today, these pay lakes learn that if they put big fish in their ponds, they attract a crowd. If they start putting 1,500 pounds worth of big fish every week, they can turn it into a gambling establishment and make a load of money. These guys pay more money per pound for live trophy catfish than a commercial fisherman would get at like a meat market. That's why you get rings of individuals like this that try to make some money. Now, whatever pay lake they were selling these fish to is probably hurting a little bit. The only problem is that they will still continue on. They still have their, tournaments. There's just the tournament goers will end up maybe catching one or two fish instead of like 10 fish. When these pay lakes started pulling 1,500 to 3,000 pounds worth of catfish every week out of our public lakes, most of them are in Kentucky and Ohio, so they hit the Ohio River hard. They emptied it quick. The next lake they hit was pretty much Watts Bar. This was during a time where the Tennessee Wildlife Agency didn't really understand what was going on, that they were, hitting that lake. They emptied that lake pretty quick as well, just because that lake had been hit years before by an ash spill that pretty much killed everything. So they emptied that lake and then continued further south. Now, they didn't. Fort Loudon Lake is the first lake in line on the Tennessee River, straight down 75. So these guys go straight down 75 and started hitting the lakes off of 75. Fort Loudon was hit a little bit. The buffalo fishermen, they allowed commercial fishermen to start fishing for buffalo, and they were caught. A game warden told me this. So this is secondary information from a game warden, but they told me they had caught several of them with live trophy size fish. And because of those busts and future busts, a new law of no transport of trophy fish was created in Tennessee. You cannot move trophy catfish in Tennessee, period. They still do it anyway. They've been going down to Upper Guntersville. I saw them recently in Wheeler. This is a wild fish going into a pond. They're killing these fish. They come, you know, that 100 pounder next week is a 60 pounder. 3 weeks from now, it's a dead fish. So they're pulling out fish every day, and they do this. I actually saw a conversation of one who was trying to get skipjacks. So they also, that's another issue where they're getting too many skipjacks to sell their Patreons. They do this like during the busy time, like wintertime. They don't get many people there. They don't stock their ponds as much, if any at all. So it's like May through like September, I think it was, and it's every week. And they're like, they literally said it. Yeah, I need 200 skipjacks a week because between May and September, I'm going to be going south once a week. And I need 200 skipjacks every single time, please, or more. And that's just one lake. There's probably 15 to 20 of these lakes. So if it's an unimaginable amount of fish. If you go only 1,000 pounds of catfish. Oh, my cat. What are you doing? So if you just say they only take 1,000 pounds of catfish, and there's 20 lakes, that's 20,000 pounds worth of catfish a week. What lake can handle that? Really, think about it. And these are the breeders. They want the breeders. They want the big fish. 2 little fish can make 100 babies. But 2 big fish can make like 10,000 babies. So you get rid of the breeders out of the system crashes. So just make up your own mind about it. If you're new to seeing this video, some of you that saw my last video, there's a lot of things that I said before. In fact, most of my comments were really, really positive on this subject, saying that they need to be shut down. I did get a couple of negative ones, and I'm going to read those comments. I'm also going to remove those comments and block the name when I show it on this video because I don't want to actually identify an individual. I don't want to identify a lake. If they say a pay lake, I'm not going to put it in there. So the first one is what I consider a weak argument, and I will tell you what it is. I put it up here, and I'm going to read it. Very few people have the means to catch a trophy catfish other than pay lakes. If you want your kids to catch some big catfish, are you going to go spend $30,000 on a boat and electronics, or is it easier to take them to a lake? Catfish are a renewable resource, and the state records are getting broke regularly, so I don't think we are depleting the population of large catfish in rivers. Everyone has an opinion, and that's mine. And that is 100% an opinion. Now, I ran a poll, and the poll was for something completely different. It had nothing to do with this subject. I had another subject in mind that I wanted to do sometime in the future. And I asked, is 100 miles long distance? And I had thought that, everybody was going to poll saying that, yes, 100 miles is a long distance. But the vast majority of people in that poll said 100 miles is not a long distance. And because of that, that means the majority of everyone, at least on the eastern United States, I could see, more rural areas in the western United States wouldn't be, but the majority of people are within 100 miles of a body of water that would have some type of trophy fish in it. And I'm not keeping it to 100% catfish. Trophy carp, you are going to knock my camera over. So I'm going to put you on the floor. All right, so trophy carp, you could get some trophy ocean fish. Almost every fish in the ocean feels like a trophy when you catch it. They all fight 100 times harder than freshwater fish. So everybody's within 100 miles. So that's there's no excuse. You don't need to be going to a pay pond unless it's one of the old fashioned ones where you're paying to keep your farm raised fish. Now, the next one, $30,000 boat. Really? This guy must have never seen Catfish Dave's videos because he started off without a boat and he was catching monsters from the bank. I have luckily caught monsters from the bank as well. One of the best ones that I caught, I ended up driving about 50 miles to get because I was trying a new area. I wanted to make a different type of video. I wanted to just record like until I caught a fish, and 45 minutes later, that fish was easily a 60 pounder. 50, 60 pounder, maybe a 40 pounder. It was a big fish from the bank. And there's some funny comments, like some guys noticed like a mole that was digging around the butt of my rod and stuff or whatever. But I did a really, really long video and I was not expecting to catch a monster catfish. I was expecting to catch something small. So, yes, you don't need a $30,000 boat. And you can always, you know, book me as a fishing guide. I have a $30,000 boat that I can take you on for a fraction of that price. Now, I do agree that catfish are a renewable resource, and that's if you do sustainable practices. Taking out, the breeder fish, that's not sustainable. You're going to deplete the population. If you're, 3 or 4 pay lakes hitting this one lake at, 3,000 pounds a week, yeah. And, like I said earlier, Wheeler. This should be getting everybody up in arms because Wheeler is recognized as the trophy catfish lake. I mean, there's others that might be considered as well, but it's equal to the other big lakes. And now they're hitting Wheeler. You need to get angry over this. Period. You need to get angry that they were seen on Wheeler. Yeah, that still makes me angry that I found that out. Now, what's next here? Can't deplete the population. Oh, for sure, you can. It can, and it's not an opinion. It's a fact. We've seen it. We've seen a decline. I mean, Watts Bar was supposed to be like Wheeler. However, the past like 10 years, they're having trouble getting over 100 pounds or whatever on their tournaments, on the tournaments. Like, look at the King Cat tournament. The last, every year it's been lower and lower and lower as you go to the past. So it is recovering, but they still haven't broke 100 pounds on, for one basket. Now, I did kind of explain some of this to this guy, and he replied back with something that's just like, what? It's really just off the wall and just nonsensical. I'll post it right here, and I'm going to read it. Catfish were put on this earth to eat, not to worship. Your argument is weak. You are trying to make a living taking people fishing, and you're trying to protect your cash cow. Yes, I'm a fishing guide. I want to put people on big fish. When you have these, trophy pay lakes just absolutely emptying my local waters of these trophy fish, it makes it difficult for me to put people on trophy fish. And this actually can make some of my clients not happy. I've had not happy clients because we were only able to catch a few small fish. I've caught some bigger fish up to 20 pounders, and they're like, oh, I was hoping to get a 50. Of course, I do have to say that I don't make a living yet off of this either. I don't make enough on YouTube or from my guide service to do it 100%. I want to someday. If I was catching giant fish all the time, I might be able to, because people would be like, "Oh, I would catch giant fish." In order for me to do that, I have to go all the way down to Upper Guntersville. And I know a guide who was doing that, and he got burned out to the point that he's no longer a guide. My buddy Ty, that's where he went. If you've seen his FV Catfish website, or Facebook or whatever, you'll see times where he had two 100-pound class fish in his boat on the same day with the same client. That was down south, and he's driving, you know 2 hours towing a boat to take people fishing. And it psychologically, it wore him out. He does love going down there to fish, and we've been down there a few times. Some of my first big fish were with him way down south, not in local waters. And if I did that all the time, I would get burned out too. That's why, like, I have a special, like, all day trip, that I say that if you do an all day trip with me, and pay that extra money for an all day trip, we might actually go down there, or go to where the big fish are, because it is a drive, and it's something that I don't want to have to do like every single day, because I would absolutely positively get burned out. I'd rather do that in my local waters, and thanks to multiple reasons, they're fewer and harder to find, but they are recovering. And that would be nice if these pay lakes would stay out of my waterways so they can continue recovering. Now, what else? Oh, yeah, he said also they were put on this earth to eat and not worship. Oh, I could quote a Bible verse for this, but I'm not going to. I usually try to stay away from religion and politics, but they are good to eat. I agree that they're good to eat. I don't agree with that full sentence in a specific context. And my cat is trying to take over the live stream, or live stream. Why am I calling this live stream? Podcast. Taking over the podcast. So yeah, and this is one, they always have different arguments too. I probably could pull up Facebook. I'm just pulling it up because there's another one or two that they use arguments that I cannot remember. Okay, there was this one post, a guy reacting to one of the lakes, stating that they had 9,000 pounds worth of fish that they stocked that week. And that is an impossible number. And I actually have a pretty good comment on here about that, if I can find it. Yeah. So I'm going to read my comment. Nobody actually like replied to it or anything, but the comment is, these trophy pay lakes must feel untouchable when they start joking around about how many pounds of fish they stock. 9,000 pounds isn't there's no way. It's going to be 1,500 to 3,000. They're saying 9,000 pounds as a joke, because, like I just said, they feel untouchable, because they've been doing this for like 10 to 20 years now, and they know what they're doing. They are hot, they hide where they throw away their fish now. They lie about where they get their fish, even to the DNR, whenever they're required to. And, this article that this video started off with, that's 11 people in Kentucky. That is an organized group of individuals feeding a pay lake somewhere. And these pay lakes, they don't only get their fish from commercial guys. So that's why they can get away with this sometimes, because they're having an individual bring them 4 or 5 big fish. And then another 4 or 5 big fish. And another 4 or 5 big fish. So they get their fish from many directions. Oh, you. My cat's like 16 years old. If my cat was a blue, she would be about 20 pounds right now. Anyway, that, they feel they're unstoppable. Now, what was one of the other ones here? There was someone talking about what's the difference between other people who eat tons of fish. There's no way. There's you gotta think about this logically. All these pay lakes, they kill enough fish to probably feed all of Africa. There is so many tons and tons of dead catfish by the end of their season. It's so much wasted meat. One person could get 1,500 pounds worth of catfish, but where are they going to put it? Where are they going to put it, right? If they get 1,500 pounds worth of catfish, they're probably a commercial fisherman. And if they're a legit commercial fisherman, a lot of them usually release the big ones, anything over 30. From what I've seen, the legit commercial fishermen that are going for catfish, they keep, only so many. Or they keep like the smaller ones. They release the bigger ones because they want to keep their fishery, going. You want those big ones to make tons of small ones. And I'd like to see a commercial fisherman catch 100 catfish out of Watts Bar. That would be almost impossible right now to catch 100 catfish because the population has crashed. It's a matter of time or get back up, but it's crashed for now. Now, further south, it's a different story. The commercial fishermen are getting small ones. The pay lakes are going in and poaching the big ones. Eventually, even those lakes are going to get hurt more unless they stop what they're doing or we get more regulations in, like Kentucky. This is, like I said earlier, it's huge that Kentucky has actually done this. This is in Kentucky. There are trophy pay lakes in Kentucky. Step in the right direction. Enforcement is hard. You only have so many game wardens, and most of these wildlife agencies have a shortage of game wardens. I don't even know how they were able to manage to catch these guys, but they did. They caught them. Hopefully, they'll be able to catch more in the future. To maybe these guys will get a message and voluntarily turn their pay lakes back into family friendly establishments. It won't make them as much money, but hey, it's better than killing a natural resource off. Now, I got off on a rant again there, and I don't remember. Well, I don't remember what it is. Usually, I think that's usually what it is. Like, oh, people aren't close to pay lakes, or people aren't close to trophy waters, or they're saying, what about the guys eating the fish? You know, that's a secondary subject, and there's even a fight there. A lot of people who like to keep fish, you've got two sides. You have the people that will release the breeders because they know the breeders will make more fish, and then you get the people who they don't care. They eat everything until there's nothing left. Hopefully, we can educate our younger people, our children, to actually like care enough to not eat everything to death. That's the only, for that fight, that's the only thing we can hope for is that, we teach our children not to eat everything to death. Now, I think that's about it on this one. If I see an article, I will do another video like this. It's good to like get this out there so people know that this is going on and it needs to be addressed. And yes, I do have a financial interest in this because I want to put clients on big fish. I can't do that when they are killing all of our big fish. It's really hard. Maybe someday things will turn around. That's the best we can hope for. Now, as always, I want to thank you for taking your time out of your day to watch and listen to this video podcast. I really, really appreciate it. And finally, my cat is being a little nice, just sitting there waiting for me to pet her and not trying to knock over the camera or anything else on my desk. Thanks again for watching and listening, and I hope to see you next time.